Alright, so we're gluing some valve cover gaskets in the valve covers here. I'm getting ready to put the strainer back on. I need a strainer kit. I'll have your two gaskets and your little copper O-rings for your nuts. You always want to use those O-rings because if you don't, your strainer plate will leak. And I like to glue the gaskets down to the valve covers so they don't suck in and stuff like that. This yellow stuff works really good. This little bead of it, it's all you need. A bead is all you need. I just drop the gasket in there and it keeps it nice and tight in the valve cover. And once that dries, we'll be able to pop that back on and we'll get a nice leak-free operation. Another good tip is to tap the valve cover back and forth with a hammer. And that'll help seat the gasket also. Don't use silicone. It won't work because usually it's not impervious to oil, and once oil gets under the gasket, the silicone starts popping out into the cylinder head area, and nothing's good then. This stuff works pretty good. It dries sort of hard and it seems to be impervious to oil, so oil doesn't seem to affect it like silicone. Anyway, that's that. We'll let those dry up, and got our strainer cleaned up, got our strainer plate, got our nuts out there under the car, and we got our new strainer gasket there. So this thing's about done. I'm gonna get the engine cap back up. I got the struts on there late last night. I did make a little video. I'm gonna have to edit that up. I've got to get my drums painted next and my wheel bearings repacked, and we'll get the drums all back on. I'll adjust the brakes, and then we'll finish the bleeding process. Not breeding, that's a whole different video. Anyway, I filled the reservoir last night and let it sit overnight with the bleeders open. It drained through. I refilled it this morning. And when you crack a bleeder, I have fluid at all four wheel cylinders now, so that's a good start. I'm going to need somebody to help me bleed the brakes, so as soon as one of the girls gets home, we'll do that. I think everything else is finished in the back. We did the valve adjustment. We got the oil out of it. You don't need to train the oil when you do a valve adjustment, but the motor does have to be at room temperature or cold. Can't be warm to get the proper clearance. So somebody was concerned with over tightening the nuts. Never really had an issue from that, and then I always try to use a shorter wrench. So this is the wrench that I couldn't find yesterday. That's why it kept slipping off. But this Matco wrench is a short one. Here's a normal size. Here's a normal size Matco wrench compared to this one. So it's a lot less, you know, you can't crank it quite as hard, and it's hard to over tighten one of those adjusting nuts. They're pretty stout. I would rather have the nut tight than have it come loose. And unless you're dealing with like a swivel foot adjuster or like a Berg adjuster, you don't really have to worry about hurting the adjuster nut. However, if you let's see what I got here. If you're dealing with a adjuster like such that has an Allen adjuster in it, these are hollow, so you can put your wrench in there. They don't have the screw head on it like a Volkswagen, which is a solid adjuster. So these will break. You want to be very careful not to over tighten those, and you have to beware when you're using these swivel feet adjusters or a Berg type adjuster. But that is one of the things that does happen. I I always tend to make them tight because I've seen them come loose or found them loose so many times. But this type of rocker are very sensitive to braking. This is a Berg rocker. Even though they're very pricey, the adjuster is delicate. And I got these from a guy, and you can see that they weren't set up properly. You can see how much of the thread's showing down here. You want to get as much of that up into this section of the rocker as you can, and make the push rod accordingly. The more of the threads you expose out of the bottom of this rocker, the better chance you're going to have of breaking that off. And they do snap off at the top if you over tighten this because of being hollow here. So factory adjuster you can get pretty rough with. You know, an aftermarket adjuster you do have to be aware and just use your own discretion whether you want the adjuster to come loose or you want to break it. So I always keep spare adjusters with me when I go racing, or a spare set of rocker arms. And that's the set of rocker arms I just showed you that I take to the track. And last time we went to the track, we actually had a rocker arm failure. Had one of the rockers come off. And if you don't catch it, if you don't hear it, you can cause serious damage with a turbo car when the rocker comes off. And more so if it's an intake than an exhaust. But it can be catastrophic when a rocker breaks. So I try to spare no expense on the rockers for the race car here. But occasionally I'll still have an issue. So somebody wanted to get a little more video on this. I sort of was trying to do a video yesterday and I was getting long-winded, and apparently my SD card can't, you know, process that long of a video, so it breaks it into two different files, and then I have a problem trying to edit it with my lack of skills. So this is the bug. In case there's well, not in case, there's plenty of new subscribers to the channel, so I guess I need to do a little update every once in a while. But I've had this car since I was 19 years old. It was a gift to me from Rick Morrow when I worked down at Scooter Shop at R&S Performance. We built him a street car turbo setup. It was like a 10-second ride, and he bought this car for parts, and he was gracious enough to donate it to the cause after he got done picking with it. And I do appreciate it because I was in no position to buy a car at the time, so that's used to be how it worked. You know, people would hand stuff down, and it's a shame that doesn't happen more today, but it probably does, just not here. But anyway, Rick's still a real good friend, and he's long since sold his Volkswagen, but he still calls every once in a while and checks in, and I still have the car. So I've had this since I was 19. I'm 53 now. I did drive it to Tennessee, to Carson, Newman, Tennessee, to go to college up there, and figured out that wasn't my thing, and ended up coming back and working for Scooter for 15 or 20 years, depending on how you add it up. But I worked there for about 5-6 years, washing parts, slaving away, you know, riding my bike, and then we finally put a bug together for me. And this car started out with an actual Berg motor in it. It was my first engine. It was a 1776 Berg kit, and ended up not setting the end plate correctly and spit the push rod keeper, or the wrist pin keepers, out, and totaled the motor out, and ended up giving the motor up because I couldn't afford to fix it. And that's when I learned to build grenade motors, as we like to call them. You know, that was my first attempt at a stock dowel 8 dowel crank with Volkswagen rods and all Volkswagen parts, and I was able to get that to go 13 O's, which is pretty impressive, considering this was a whole car at the time. But it did have a close box in it, and I would drive it everywhere, get up on the interstate and buzz the motor 5800 going down the highway, and I would freshen that motor up like oil changes. You know, it used to kill Scooter. I'd pop it out and put bearings in it. We'd race it, and eventually I moved on to a turbo setup by accident. I had a really expensive drag motor in here. It was Hilburn injected. I think it was 90mm crank with 94 pistons. It was a monster, and it burned up, and I was really discouraged, and ended up putting the 1776 in the car, and we threw a turbo on it, and the car went 11 flat at 150 miles an hour, and it's been a turbo car ever since. I sort of got rid of the 48s and got into the turbo thing probably about 85. We started messing with turbos, and back when Jim Duke and Babette's and all those guys were putting kits together in the garage and selling them to the idiots on the East Coast. That's what introduced us to the turbo power, and I've just been amazed by the power you can make with a turbocharger. It doesn't matter whether it's on a Volkswagen motor or an LS. It's pretty incredible free horsepower. But anyway, this is a 1967 Bug. It's all steel except for the fenders, and the fastest the car's been is 980 at 140 miles an hour. There's a couple of videos of it going 10 flat at 133 that you can find on my channel if you want to check them out. Some in-car shots and some out-of-the-car shots. And right now it's just in limbo. I've scraped the side of it up over there, so we've been getting that back in shape. And then I got some data acquisition for it in a wide band. We're going to put that in there and lean on it a little bit. We've been running 15 pounds of boost off the wastegate, and I'd like to bump it up to about 25. So you know, it should make it a little more fun to drive. It's already a really fun car. I don't get to race it near enough, but we're going to be taking it out soon. I need to get back on this. I've just been doing other things. It's somebody asked if it was a chassis car, and it's, for all purposes, it's pretty much a chassis car. Back when we started racing this in the late 90s, there was a class called ASX, and it had to have the floor pan in the car. But it's a double frame rail car. It's got a frame rail next to the tunnel on both sides, and then there's a frame rail out here under the heater channel, and then of course you have the tunnel still. And the chassis goes to the front of the car all the way to the back. So it's a pan car with a chassis, I guess. It was built in a garage somewhere. You know, it's not a professional chassis by all means, but it did qualify at number 3 at the last race I went to, and there were quite a few name brand cars that were way behind it. So it's always been fun. It's sort of a joke car because it's sort of so basic, you know, and people look at it and they don't expect much from it, but it hauls ass. It's got drum brakes, which makes it sort of interesting to stop. And we need to do a few things, some upgrades. We need a parachute on it. We need to really put a bar on it, and I need to build a pan for under the motor. You have to have a catch pan under the car, under the motor, basically valve cover to valve cover now, to carry catch any oil that might fall on the track. So I've never had an issue with the engine in this car, thank God. I have, you know, mixed up some cylinders and bent some push rods and had issues like that. I broke a lifter once, but mainly the issue is with the transmission. And soon I'm trying to scrape some money together. I'm going to get Gino over at Gino's VW. I want him to build me a tranny, and I want to try to duplicate what I have in there, maybe make it a little bit longer. This is a 278 first, and I have a 344 ring and pinion. I think I'm going to go with a 310 first, make it even longer. Car's got plenty of power for the longer tranny, and I think it would mile an hour a little better with a longer box. So that's coming, and although you guys have seen me build plenty of stock trannies and service transmissions that need stuff done, I'm not really set up to build a all-out race transmission. You know, you have to weld the gusset on the tranny, and there's certain things that have to be set up, and Gino's set up for that, or a place like Rancho, wherever you pick. If you race a Volkswagen, you know, there's a few guys that build their own stuff, but a lot of guys use other people to build their race trannies. And Scooter used to build mine, and that's not an option anymore, so I'm going to have to find somebody else to help me out with the tranny on it. And I'm going to give Gino a try. He's a YouTuber. You guys check him out. He doesn't get near enough views. He's an old guy that's been doing it for a long time, man. And his car runs 740s, which is no slouch. It's carbureted. And once you get in the low 7s, if you're building trannies and they're holding up to an aspirated car, a turbo car is no problem. The turbo cars seem to be a lot softer on the trannies than the aspirated cars. It's a lot smaller spike. You know, in an aspirated car, you tend to leave 9,600 are wide open. And on this car, we leave the starting line at about 5,500 RPM. So you want it to pull the motor down and spool the turbo up. So that's a little trick there. So somebody wanted some speed secrets. So I'm going to give you 2 speed secrets that if your car's not fast and you can't figure out why. The fuel line's not big enough. You need a bigger fuel pump, and your ignition system needs to be better. So those are the 2 things. I can almost always upgrade a fuel pump, the fuel line, and the ignition system on a car and make it faster no matter whose car it is, unless they have the right stuff already. But it's one of the things in the Volkswagen racing community. It's a misconception about what ignition box is good for what. And usually if you're building a race motor, your compression's up over 12.5 to 1, and usually an MSD6 stops working at about that compression level. If you're going to squeeze it harder, you got to have more spark. So we proved that with Noel's car. We put an MSD8 on that, and you can put as much fuel as you want in the motor, and it'll burn it. And we've never had it, knock the spark out, even with 25 pounds of boost. So the more pressure you put in the cylinder and the more fuel you introduce in there, you have to light it. And the ignition system is one of the key components to that. So that was one of the reasons we're going to put the data acquisition on this, is to see what the motor's doing. And we're trying to find a box right now. I want an MSD8, and they made them illegal, so they're hard to get one. I don't race the car in any kind of classes, I just basically want it to be as fast as it can, and I want to control as many things as I can. And with that box, you can control how much the tire spins, what kind of wheel speed you have. I mean, it's incredible the stuff you can do with one of those. So that's the direction we're going. A little more update the car a little bit. I thought about doing some fuel injection, but that's not my thing. We're going to stick with the carburetor for now. And if I find somebody that's a fuel injection guru that wants to work with me, then we'll upgrade to the fuel injection. But I haven't found that person yet. So we got a new carburetor we're going to try on here, and we got a few other little tricks. So soon we'll be going to the track with the race car. And the Ventura here, that's another project. It's sort of sitting. The motor's been rebuilt, and we need to get back on this. But it's just like I got 100 projects laying around here. I sort of lost my motivation for a while to be out in the shop. And let me get my camera tight there. Anyway, I think you guys know it's not hard to lose your motivation. And sometimes you just gotta get remotivated. So that's what's going on with that. I'm gonna try to work on my channel a little bit. YouTube's changed everything again last night, so I'm having a hard time finding my video manager. So I need to get in there and try to figure out what the new upgrades are. It's hard to find the subscribers. They took away the subscriber button at the top of the page, and I just can't leave it alone. So it's hard for any kind of adjustments with me. It takes me a while to get reacclimated to it. So if I'm a little slow at answering some of the comments, that's why. I'm having trouble accessing my channel and figuring out what's going on with the new YouTube thing. So Hans has been working on his ride a little bit. He got the fuel line changed over. He took all the braided hose off. He didn't like that, so he went with the black braided and black fittings. So he's weird that way. But he's been working on this a little bit. I think he's got the let me get the fender out of the way here. He's got some of the wiring going in here. Started laying down the relays. And this system that he has is all on a ribbon. So this is some, I don't know, push button deal he bought. Supposed to be the Shiat. And yeah, he's got his little ground block there, power block, little fuse panel he put together, and then his this is the main motherboard. I guess it's yeah, can you guys see anything? But anyway, it's got a series of relays on it, switches and stuff. It comes with that wiring harness setup. He bought a new short shift shifter. And then of course the race pack dash. We've been trying to get that going. Got that in his room, probably looking at that. But anyway, oh no, it's in the car. He's already mounted it. Yeah. Here we go. So that's coming along. I'm gonna definitely get one of those for my car. I like those. I don't know, they you know, they make it really hard to do basic stuff with it. So you have to buy a lot of features. And somebody told me that Autometer has a new dash now that's more user friendly. So I don't know. I'm either gonna look at the race pack stuff or the Autometer stuff. The attractive thing with the race pack stuff is basically, you know, Hans can get it at cost, so that helps a bunch. So it's where I'm at with that. That's why I might end up with the race pack stuff. It's a lot cheaper. But anyway, let me go and shut this off. It's one of those rambling videos. I'm gonna go ahead and cap this strainer up out here, put my valve cover gaskets on, get my oil in, get the day going. I let the brakes bleed overnight. That should go pretty quick when somebody gets here. And I got to get all my drums painted, get my wheels torqued back on, repack my wheel bearings, and that's going to be a day for me, man. But we'll get all that done and we'll get this finished today. And then tomorrow we'll start on a new project. I'm going to either start on the bus or the convertible. I haven't decided. I had some guys come look at the bus and the convertible last night. They were tire kickers, and they wanted to buy the Porsche, but they wanted to trade me some Porsche Cayenne. I didn't really like that kind. But anyway, I'm going to hold on to my car and upgrade some stuff. I'm going to take it up to Provost Motorsports and have them do some things on it. I wanted to take it up there last year and things didn't work out, and then he offered to even come by the house in December and help me with some things that need to be done. And I didn't catch his email because I'm not really good at accessing my channel, and believe me, that hurt when I found that message after the fact. But I'll probably make the trip up there to New Jersey. I really like the guys' work up there, and I'm going to take my car up there and get a few upgrades on it, get a roll cage put in, some new seats, and get the ECU reflashed. I need a new clutch and just some basic tune-up stuff. So that's coming up. We'll do a little road trip up there and check them out. And thanks for watching this video. Sorry it's so long. Let me go before the battery dies, and we'll talk to you guys later.